All right, everybody. Can you hear me? Can everybody hear me? Hello, hello. Can everybody hear me? Everybody in the back, can you hear me? Perfect. All right. Thank you guys for coming tonight. We're going to start this evening off with the Pledge of Allegiance. So if everybody can stand. Attention, salute, pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. What a lovely evening it is in Spanish Fort, Alabama. I want to welcome everybody to the Spanish Fort Mayoral Forum. My name is Christopher Lugo. I'm the Director of Workforce Development and Governmental Affairs for the Eastern Shore Chamber of Commerce, and I'm honored to serve as your moderator here tonight. We're excited to provide this platform for voters to hear directly from the candidates seeking to lead this great city. Local elections matter, perhaps more than any other, because the decisions made here shape the daily lives of our families, businesses, and communities. Thank you to all our candidates for being here, and to our audience for taking the time to be informed and engaged citizens. Tonight's forum is designed to be fair, informative, and focused on the issues that matter the most to Spanish Fort. So I'm going to give a little rundown of the rules real quick for our candidates and for the audience here. Candidates will have 1 minute and 30 seconds to give an introduction to themselves and why they are running. Candidates will be asked the same 4 questions and will have 2 minutes to respond to each question. After initial responses, each candidate will have 1 minute for a follow-up or rebuttal. When answering questions, candidates must only address the audience. You may not address other candidates. There will also be no interrupting or speaking out of turn. If these 2 rules are broken, candidates will be given 2 warnings and then asked to leave the forum. All right, enough talking from me. Let's get to know our candidates. We're going to go in alphabetical order by last name. So Brad Bass, you're up first.
Thank you, Christopher. First, I'd like to thank both you and Casey and the Eastern Shore Chamber of Commerce for hosting this forum. I appreciate all you do, not just for Spanish Fort, but how you partner with municipalities and small businesses along the Eastern Shore. And if elected, I intend on continuing that partnership, and potentially even increasing the commitment the city of Spanish Fort makes with the Chamber of Commerce. So my name is Brad Bass. I've called Spanish Fort home for the majority of my 43 years. I've seen our beautiful city grow from the small town Mayberry, where Bobby Wilson picked up my grandmother's car to get the oil change. And as kids, we'd walk to Papa John's gas station to get a Coke, Gatorade, candy bar, whatever that might have been. I don't think anyone could have imagined back then, the late 80s, early 90s, what the growth would look like at this point in Spanish Fort. Many of you that are in this room I grew up with or grew up with your kids. But whether you just moved here in the last few years or are a Spanish Fort lifer, the fact that you're here tonight shows that you care about this community, and that really means a lot. In the last 6 weeks, I've hosted 16 neighborhood events, listening sessions where I've gotten to meet approximately 700 people across the city of Spanish Fort. These meetings have been tremendously energizing, not just for me, but I think the people that were there as well. Everything I've heard echoed from these folks is that small town community feel does still exist here in Spanish Fort, which makes me proud to be obviously a resident here at Spanish Fort, and is really what kind of driven me to take this step. In a lot of the conversations I've heard, the small town feel still exists, but a lot of our people just want to be heard. At the end of the day, they remember back when they did chit chat and talk with Bobby Wilson, maybe Mr. Fuller, or Dr. Barry Booth. They were the person that everybody took their problems to 35 years ago. A lot of folks in our city want to be heard, and that's why I'm doing this, to be here for the citizens of Spanish Fort.
Thank you, Brad. Next up, we have Lauren Kress. Go ahead.
Hi, my name is Lauren Kress. Some of you may recognize me from the library. Some of you may recognize me because I've delivered your groceries in the past few weeks. So I have decided to run for this office because I believe that the city of Spanish Fort has so much potential, the same potential that it has when it was incorporated in 1993, the same potential that it had when the comprehensive plan was first decided in the 2011. I believe that in some ways, Spanish Fort has trailed away from the core mission, which is to have that small town feel while still having the growth and expansion that comes with living in this area. I believe that there are a lot of people whose voices don't get heard, and I want to run as the representative for those people so that this community can come back together and be connected and grow in a way that is beneficial and healthy for all the families in this community.
All right, and Mr. Mike McMillan.
Well, thank you for coming tonight. Thank the Chamber for what y'all doing. Certainly a great event. It's great to see a good crowd out here tonight. We're truly blessed in our city in so many ways. We've got a community that is vibrant, that cares about each other, that says hello when you walk by somebody in the grocery store. And those are the things I always ask people that come into the city why you came here and what you like. And it's more about the people than anything else we have, with the exception of schools. We all know schools drive everything we do in our city. So we're so very blessed in so many ways. We've had so many opportunities and so many things to move forward with. By that, you know, if you looked 9 years ago, we wouldn't have been in this building. We didn't have a building. We didn't have a library. We didn't have a senior center. We didn't have a community center. So we've done great things in the last 9 years. So very proud. Yes, we still have that small town Mayberry feel. We do. Some people like to discount that. I wasn't pointing at you, Brad. I didn't mean that way. But we're so blessed with so many things. Our schools drive everything we do. Communities are defined by their schools. We will always support our schools to make them move forward. So very proud to be here. So very proud to be a part of Spanish Fort the past 13 years, plus the other 8 years serving on the council.
All right, thank you, everybody. Our first question is going to focus on housing. Spanish Fort's growth brings rising housing costs, which can make it difficult for essential workers like teachers, police officers, and nurses to live in the city they serve. Brad, how do you plan to ensure housing remains accessible and affordable for all income levels, especially those vital to our community's workforce?
So I was actually just in Quail Hollow last night, which is, I guess, one of the last multifamily housing units that we approved as a city years ago. I do think multifamily housing has been paused for the city for several years, which I do think needs to continue. I think housing costs obviously is an issue that we all deal with. We've all seen our housing values appreciate tremendously over the years based off a lot of folks obviously wanting to move here into the city. But also the reason the schools are doing so well has driven the fact that those housing prices have gone up. When it comes to meeting housing costs, I think we need to work probably both with Baldwin County as a whole to look at some costs that are associated with the housing that we could potentially lower, whether it's insurance cost. Right now, ISO ratings in some of the areas of our city are extremely high, which drives those costs up. I actually spoke with a Spanish Fort police officer several weeks ago that actually had to move out of the city due to insurance ratings and the costs in the city. So I think those are things we need to look at as a whole when it comes to both insurance and housing costs moving forward.
All right, thank you. Lauren, same question. How do you plan to ensure housing remains accessible and affordable for all income levels, especially those vital to our community's workforce?
The biggest impact on housing is, like Brad was talking about, the planning and organization of the communities and the county. That is necessary to work with the Metropolitan Planning Organization. As a city, we need to make sure that we are in line with that and that we keep in mind that while we do need to preserve our natural resources here, we also do need housing for the families. We do need multifamily housing in Spanish Fort. And it is almost impossible to live here and be a worker in one of the service industries here. I know because I live here and I work in the service industry, so I know how hard it is to function in this city and to be able to live comfortably on that type of income. And a lot of that is, like I said, have to do with dealing with the planning of the city, dealing with the county, and making sure that the concerns and needs of all the citizens are dealt with in that discussion.
All right, thank you, Lauren. Mr. McMillan, how do you plan to ensure housing remains accessible and affordable for all income levels, especially those vital to our community's workforce?
First of all, we got to recognize Spanish Fort is a single-family residential area. I'm very proud of the fact that we haven't approved multifamily housing, that being apartments, in our community for a long time. Multifamily is great, but 20 years down the road, what do you have with multifamily housing? You have a facility that's sold 2 or 3 times, it's beginning to get run down and those kind of things, and all it does is drive your property values down. You know, I heard something about ISO ratings. I'm very proud of our fire department. They do an outstanding job with a 3 ISO, and that is across all of the city, not just part of the city. That is across all of the city with the same rating. So we're very proud of that, and we look to improve that. I think we can do better. You know, very proud of the fact that Spanish Fort was the highest rated city in Mobile and Baldwin County to raise a family. That's outstanding. That's what we do. That drives your property value. Now, when you drive your property value up, yes, your taxes do go up with it when your property values go up, but that's a good thing. That's not a bad thing. So it's also one of the safest cities in the state. We're very proud of that rating also. So I'm proud of where we are, where we're going. Would we always like to see better? Yes, we always do. We always strive to get there.
Thank you. All right, Brad, you have 1 minute if you want to follow up at a rebuttal.
So being the highest rated city, Mobile or Baldwin County is a great thing. You know, most of that rating was based off of school scores. Right now, all of our schools in Spanish Fort are A-rated, but there's a lot of gaps and issues that we have for families right now that we just cannot provide, which include many families having to drive to surrounding communities for athletic events, lack of a performing arts center here in town that some of the other folks in town cannot utilize when it comes to band, drama, those kind of things. So while our schools are highly rated and our leadership within the schools has done a great job to get us there, especially through some of the 3 meal tax that was approved several years back, I still think there's a lot more we can do as a city to make this a better place to live for the citizens.
Thank you. Lauren, do you have any follow-up?
I do want to say that one of the things that I would like to see in Spanish Fort is more mixed use zoning, areas where not only there's commercial, but there's also residential with it. I feel like that is something that does promote places where people of all incomes can live comfortably. The current planning that we have that is so centered on subdivisions and large single-family plots does cause some exclusionary issues when it comes to, you have to have people that work in the services. You have to have people that can, you know, check your water meter. You have to have people that can bag your groceries. You have to have people that can ring up your groceries. And if you're having to, you know, if those people are having to come from other cities to come here and work, that is also not beneficial for Spanish Fort. So I do really promote the mixed use zoning. That is something I'm really a proponent of.
Thank you, Lauren. And Mr. McMillan, 1 minute. Anything else?
Yeah, very proud of our schools. That does drive us. There's absolutely no doubt. Communities are defined by their schools. That is our driving force in Spanish Fort. But it's also about the people. It's not about the friendliness and the willingness to get along to move things forward. We have opportunities. We always have opportunities. You always can do better. All right, and I don't disagree with your mixed use. There are some areas that mixed use could be used in our city, particularly at the town center. I see that as strictly a mixed use kind of facility. But where we are as a city, where we're moving forward, I'm so very proud of where we are, where we've been, and where we're going.
Thank you. Moving on to our second question. It may hit home to many of you here in this room. Because local small businesses are the backbone of our economy. Brad, what specific actions would you take as mayor to support existing small businesses and attract new entrepreneurs to Spanish Fort? You have 2 minutes.
So I think this is very important. Over the last 6 weeks, I've met with close to 36 small business owners here in Spanish Fort. Unfortunately, last year, the $125 license fee that most small businesses paid for years was increased as much as 4,000% for some folks. There were supposed to be notifications sent out to these businesses. It didn't happen. The fees went from $125 in some instances to as much as $8,000 to $9,000 for these folks that had not budgeted, not had planned for that, which was an extreme issue for them to try to budget, not just to pay that for this year, but also in the years moving forward. And I think most of them are realists because at the end of the day, they know other municipalities around here do their business licenses the same way. But at the end of the day, there was no warning for these folks. They had no way to know this was coming, and for a lot of them that operate on small margins, it was an issue. I think one of our biggest issues as far as attracting business, if you look at the Spanish Fort Town Center, it's something that's been ignored for years. You know, there have been economic issues why some businesses have left at this point, but we as a city have not been proactive enough to go out and recruit some of those businesses to come back from a retail hub standpoint. I think at the end of the day, whether it's working with the Baldwin County Economic Development Alliance and Lee Lawson, maybe a company in Birmingham like Retail Strategies, which helps bring in and recruit businesses to a space like the town center, we've got to do something to increase revenue within the city. If we don't, a lot of the services we need, whether that's fire, police, senior center, parks and recreation, we're not going to be able to meet the needs of our citizens without generating more revenue here in the city.
All right, thank you. Lauren, what specific actions would you take as mayor to support existing small businesses and attract new entrepreneurs to Spanish Fort?
So anyone that has read anything about my platform knows that my main emphasis is pedestrian safety, pedestrian traffic. I believe that if the city of Spanish Fort focuses more intently on pedestrian safety and making pedestrian traffic easier within the city limits, then in doing so, you're going to drive traffic to existing businesses, and the small businesses that are on, within walking distance of a lot of our residential areas are going to benefit the most from pedestrian traffic. And also, if you make pedestrian traffic easier within the city limits, you also have that incentive for any incoming businesses to tell them, hey, there's an interstate that goes past, and if you don't have a giant sign that's got a flashing light on it, maybe they won't see you. But you know that you're going to get a lot of traffic from the neighborhood because look at this safe pedestrian walking path that goes directly to the town center. Look at this safe pedestrian walkway that people can walk from Timber Creek over to Eastern Shore Center. Look at the way that the people within this community have ease of access and feel like they can safely go back and forth from the businesses within this community.
All right, thank you, Lauren. Mike, what specific actions would you take as mayor to support existing small businesses and attract new entrepreneurs to Spanish Fort?
First thing I will say is I do not support incentives for businesses to come in. With that, is it fair to an Ace Hardware to promote a Lowe's or something like that coming in and give them some incentives that would hurt them and put them out of business? I cannot agree with that. I think the small business has to have their own opportunity to survive. I heard something about business licenses. Yes, we did come to the realization that we were one of only 2 or 3 cities in the state that did not charge a gross receipt business license. The small businesses in our city had the luxury of 30 years of $114. of a flat fee, and now it's more realistic with everything around our city. Our town center, yes, we have opportunities. We know that. I've had several conversations with developers. There's one that is very hot and heavy on the Kohl Center that will probably be coming down very soon. Very proud of that. Our revenue, our taxes are in great shape. I cannot say I would ever look at increasing taxes in our city because we are in a surplus. We manage our budget well. We don't spend money we don't have. We're not like Montgomery or Washington. So I'm very proud of where we are financially, very proud. There's always opportunities for small businesses to grow in our city, and that's a wonderful thing. And you see that coming. The old CVS building, there's somebody coming into that very shortly. So that's just part of the nature of small businesses. They come and go, but very proud of where we are and where we're going.
Thank you so much. Brad, you have a minute?
So I think, the city at this point, the fact that we haven't been willing to offer incentives, abatements for anything to come there into the town center, it's something that's got to be looked at. It's not going to fix itself at this point. And while I agree we do not want to bring a Home Depot in there, that would hurt Steve Asick's business at Ace. At the same time, if we bring a hub facility in there, something like a Target, Walmart Neighborhood Market, Costco, the other retailers are going to follow. Now, this would not be a long-term incentive we offered them, something that sunset after they were open for several years. But if we don't do anything, we're going to get much of the same. 7 years ago, it was said that the center was going to fix itself. That was after the fort was built. As you guys know, that has not happened. We've got to do something to bring businesses in there, or we're not going to be able to finish the second story of our new fire station. We're not going to be able to do things that need to get done in the city. Right now, there's not enough income to do those things. Or at least we are not willing to spend the money on them at this time. We've got to increase our revenue, and we've got to do it without raising taxes, because that's something no one wants to deal with. If anything, at some of our shopping centers, maybe the taxes need to be lowered at those centers specifically.
Thank you. Lauren, 1 minute.
So when it comes to raising taxes or incentives having to do with getting businesses to come into Spanish Fort, commercial tax, the revenue that is gotten from the businesses within Spanish Fort is much more than the revenue that you're going to get from property taxes. The more business we have, the more revenue we are going to have, and the less need we have for property taxes. I would like to see stuff that incentivizes more growth for the small businesses here. Why can't we incentivize Steve building a super Ace at the town center, and then someone else who has a small business can take over the spot where he is now? Like having an incentive, like incentivizing small businesses, incentivizing businesses that are rooted in the community by making access to those businesses within the community, I think is key. That is the key, is the pedestrian access to the community businesses already here.
Thank you, Lauren. 1 minute.
You know, we have two corners on the interstates in our city. We need to protect them. Eastern Shore Center is doing great to the point where we're able to expand the district to do other things out there. It's a wonderful thing. Town Center has not, although it's still bringing in as a complete center over $500,000 a year in sales tax revenue, was not a bad thing for our city. It does have opportunities, but we got to protect that corner. We only have two corners that we can protect, so we got to make sure we take care of that. Now, as far as incentivizing for other folks to come in, I'm not willing to put small business in peril's way to make that happen. That is very near and dear to my heart, to make sure we do this the right way. So once again, what we're developing down 31 is a good thing. What is happening at the town center will be a good thing, and the Eastern Shore Center is doing outstanding and expanding as we speak.
Thank you. So with leadership, it's not only about managing the present, it's about managing the future. So for this third question, Brad, what is your 10-year vision for Spanish Fort, and how will you ensure that long-term planning accounts for sustainability, resilience, and balanced growth?
So right now, as we stated earlier, growth has blown up in our area, and it's not going away. Baldwin County is one of the top 2 counties in the state and arguably 2 of the top 20 in the country of where people are wanting to move to. I think what we do need at this point to sustain that growth is common sense with the new comprehensive plan that's coming this year. When it comes to specific areas and spaces for both retail development and residential development, it needs to be outlined clearly moving forward for our city. Proactively, what I would like to see is a new fire station, the completion of our municipal corridor with a new police station on this end of town. We've got a new bridge that's going to be dumping off right here. At some point in the next 10 years, we have to be prepared. If we wait and we're reactive with a lot of our decision-making moving forward, we're going to be behind the 8 ball, which is where we are in many cases right now. We have seniors here at the senior center that unfortunately have been moved to the hallway for some of their activities. I would love in 10 years or less to see our own senior-only center. I would love to see some completion of a multi-use sports facility. I know that's on the table. It's been proposed at this point. But that's something that needs to be done in a short order. There's some things we could do currently to resurface some of the things we have for competition instead of waiting 4 or 5, 6 years down the road for potential new sports facilities as well.
Thank you, Brad. Lauren, what is your 10-year vision for Spanish Fort, and how will you ensure that long-term planning accounts for sustainability, resilience, and balanced growth?
My vision for Spanish Fort is a vision of a city with walkability. I am very, 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 very focused on walkability, being able to walk and bike and go within your city and use the spaces within your city without having to be bullied by traffic as it is right now. I'm sorry, I just lost my train of thought. What was the question again?
I'll stop it right there. What is your 10-year vision for Spanish Fort, and how will you ensure that long-term planning accounts for sustainability, resilience, and balanced growth?
So for sustainability and resilience and balanced growth. So by planning a city that is walkable, that automatically incorporates sustainability and resilience and balanced growth, because nobody wants to walk or bike in a parking lot. Nobody wants to walk or bike on a highway. In order to create a space like that, you automatically have to create a space that is resilient, that is sustainable. And by focusing and using the momentum of the projects and organizations that are already working on this, in 10 years, Spanish Fort cannot just be an intersection at the top of the hill in Baldwin County. It can be a hub in Baldwin County where people come and look around, and they're finally able to understand what the spirit of Spanish Fort is, because it will be on display.
Thank you. All right, Mike, what is your 10-year vision for Spanish Fort, and how will you ensure that long-term planning accounts for sustainability, resilience, and balanced growth?
Public safety will always be number one. We will continue to take care of our police and our fire, give them everything they need to move forward to take care of our city. Our growth factors in our city are 2.3 to 2.5% annually. That's a good managed, steady growth. It's not the double-digit growth that some of our other cities around us are experiencing, which causes pressure on our infrastructure because of the growth around us. We have done that with a conservative plan to move forward without multifamily expanding so much that causes so many infrastructure issues. Forget the roads, think about the schools and everything that goes with it. You know, we've got a comprehensive plan that's in the works as we speak. We have already met numerous times with the ALDOT, with the Causeway Management Plan, to move that forward because of the upcoming bridge and the traffic with the toll that will be coming with that bridge that we got to address on the Causeway, and there's a lot of plans moving forward with that. Property acquisition, we are closing within the next week on additional property directly across the street for our long-term growth acquisition situations. Our senior center, yes, they're doing great. They're busting at the seams. That's a good problem to have, but we got to have the property to make that happen. We built this facility 9 years ago. If you'd have seen it 9 years ago, you'd have said, we'll never fill this building, but we certainly have. And very proud of this building, very proud of the fact that we built it. We built it in a manner that was fiscally responsible and under budget, which was absolutely outstanding. Our athletic facilities, yes, we've got plans to move forward with different athletic facilities out on the east part of town. Very proud of that. And the main part of that is we're doing it without using taxpayers' money to make it work, using the license fees from Eastern Shore Center. Our parks, we've got Honor Park, Valor Park, Shellbank.
Thank you,
We
Mike.
got all, no, wait a second. We got all kind of parks coming, and I appreciate it. No, I don't mean to do that. But it does matter. We've got a lot of things going on in our city. Very proud of where we are.
Thank you. Brad, you have a minute?
Yeah, I think some of the proactivity we need moving forward, walkability, like Lauren said, if you look at the sidewalks along 31, on paper it was a great addition. Unfortunately, I don't think they're used as much as they could be. A lot of that's because there's about 7 inches of space between the sidewalk and a busy 4-lane highway. Some of the proactivity and forethought we need to have moving forward, when it comes to public safety, whether that's police, fire, there's a lot of stuff that's needed right now on both of those sides. When it comes to improving the city, we've got to be proactive with that, or we're going to be playing catch up for years to come.
Thank you. Lauren, you have a minute?
And I'm back to beating the drum on walkability and pedestrian access. I truly, truly believe that Spanish Fort has the capability to become a showcase city in Baldwin County, to be the space where people look around and they want to live here, yes, but we also have enough space and enough forethought in our planning to make living here a joy. I want people to come home from their jobs because a lot of people that live in Spanish Fort don't work here. When they come home, I want them to want to live here. I want living here to be a joy. I want you to walk out into your front yard and I want you to want to go and experience your city. And I feel like Spanish Fort has that potential, and that is what I see for Spanish Fort's future.
Thank you, Lauren. All right, Mike, you got 1 minute?
You gonna discount what I overran last time?
Yep, 45 seconds and counting.
No, I'm very proud of where we are on our sidewalks. You got to realize within the last 2 terms, we have added 8 miles of sidewalks in our city. That's outstanding. Up and down Jimmy Faulkner, up and down 31. We did Blakely Way, which is well-used sidewalk. We're now putting in the Spanish Fort Estates. The difference is we were able to secure grants to move some of these other projects. The 31 sidewalks and lighting was done because of experience of dealing with state elected officials, which gave us the money to make that happen. We had budgeted $896,000, and they allowed us to do that without having to spend any money. The Spanish Main project is a 100% city funded because the grants do not allow for you to build them in existing neighborhoods kind of thing. So very proud of sidewalks and walkability, and I'm out of time already.
All right, so now on to our 4th and final question. City budgets reflect a community's values, and managing taxpayer dollars wisely is critical. Brad, how would you approach setting budget priorities for Spanish Fort, and what principles would guide your decisions on spending, saving, or investing in new projects? You have 2 minutes.
So I think being fiscally responsible with the taxpayers' money is incredibly important for our city. When you live in an area like we do, you must have a rainy day fund for potential hurricane issues that we deal with, tropical storm issues that pop up from time to time. So we've got to manage and keep that rainy day fund where it is so we can answer some of those issues and problems moving forward. I think from a budget standpoint, right now about 60% of our city's budget goes to public safety. If we can increase revenue, that 60% number looks a lot bigger for both the police department and the fire department. At this point, we have not raised the head count of our police officers in 17 years in the city of Spanish Fort. I think all of you guys know how much growth we've had in that time. It's something that needs to be addressed. I know Chief Barber would like to go to at least 1 additional officer per shift. That's something we need to look at, especially if we're going to have annexation of more potential area coming into the city in the near future. I would like to congratulate the Spanish Fort Fire and Rescue Department today. They did a water rescue right off the Bayway, which I think was outstanding. I would love to see us budget more money for a boat for the Spanish Fort Fire and Rescue Department. We're one of the only cities locally that touches Mobile Bay that does not have a boat that can respond if someone does go off the causeway or if we have a tragic boat accident like we did in the spring. So while we have to be smart with managing our money, we need to make sure the resources are there to benefit the citizens in the best way possible for Spanish Fort.
Thank you, Brad. Lauren? How would you approach setting budget priorities for Spanish Fort, and what principles would guide your decisions on spending, saving, or investing in new projects?
I wholeheartedly agree with Brad on the need for adequate staffing, and that staffing should be based on consultation with the department, and so that they have what they need, whether it be people or supplies, in order to fulfill the requirements of their job. Now, when it comes to budgeting, I believe that cities traditionally have relied upon local media sources to be the way that they communicate with the public. Unfortunately, it has come to a place where everybody does not get the newspaper every day. Everybody does not watch the television every day. So the city is going to have to take responsibility for communicating with the citizens of the city and making sure that they are up to date and knowledgeable about what's going on, about what their tax money is intended for. Whether or not the city believes that they should be held accountable for that type of communication going forward, it's just going to have to be that way. Otherwise, no one is going to know what's going on, and you have a populace that is unhappy because they don't agree with how their tax dollars are being allocated. If you have that clarity of communication with your community, then you can budget what you need where it's most needed in a way that keeps your community safe and happy and is responsible fiscally for the community as a whole.
Thank you. Mike, how would you approach setting budget priorities for Spanish Fort, and what principles would guide your decisions on spending, saving, or investing in new projects?
Well, first I will mention that for the past 13 years, we have handled this problem in a very fiscally conservative manner. We have consistently had a surplus and have run our city in an efficient manner. We have 1 year's cash reserve. Not many cities can say that, and that's to safeguard when you have issues. If a hurricane was to take out the causeway, Eastern Shore Center, those kind of things, our sales tax base would be just disappear. We got to be prepared for that so we can move forward. I'm very proud of that surplus. We do more with less in our city than anyone on the Eastern Shore Center. Eastern Shore, apology there. Daphne has a budget of $50 million. Fairhope has a budget of $188 million. That does include utilities because they run utilities through their city. Spanish Fort has a budget of $12 million. We have done so much leveraging our money along with state money, with grant monies, with Go Mesa funds and those things to go to the point of where we are and where we want to be. Our council meets annually, discuss budget needs. We discuss, listen, Chief Barber, he will wear you out with wanting more people, and I appreciate that. But yes, 60% of our budget does go to public safety. That's a good thing. But we have increased our police force. In the last 16 years, we went from 20 officers to 29 officers. So we've grown 45% in that time period. So we are investing in our public safety. It's very important that we do this. Experience leads you to where you are. We have proven in the past 13 years that we manage the money right, that we do not spend money we don't have, and we do it in a fiscally conservative manner to make sure our citizens are protected.
Thank you, Mike. Brad, you have 1 minute.
So I agree with Lauren. I think communication is a huge issue. I've been in 16 neighborhoods. Folks don't feel heard, and they don't feel like they get the communication they need from the city. I was very naive to think that the majority of folks in Spanish Fort are on Facebook. Unfortunately, they're not. The folks younger than me, the folks my parents' age, their friends, a lot of them aren't on Facebook. We've got to find a way to communicate what's going on in the city quicker and better to them. I would love to see a citywide app that's no cost to the citizens where we could push alerts out to let them know what's going on at city council meetings so they know if we're going to approve a $900,000 fire truck or sidewalks in Spanish Fort Estates. That's something we need to do. Along with that, we may need to have some training days in neighborhoods, some things at City Hall where we help folks that maybe aren't as technically adept to get those things done. 5 years ago, there was a debate that I watched online that the city of Spanish Fort did. Our budget 5 years ago was $12 million. Currently, it's $12 million. We have got to grow the budget of the city of Spanish Fort, and the only way that's going to happen is either by annexing property that's county into the city limits or by filling up our empty retail space. 4 or 5 years from now, we can't have a $12 million budget, or the gaps we have in our city is going to be even bigger than we have right now.
Thank you. Lauren, you have 1 minute.
A microphone would be nice. So I agree with Brad about the needs of the city, and I've lost my train of thought again. I apologize. I keep getting messages from my children, and it just derails my brain. So the thing about it is that Spanish Fort has, again, so much potential. And I think that a lot of work went into the comprehensive plan that was created for the city. They spent 5-6 years talking with the community, doing all of the surveys, getting all of the data, making sure that they created something that was going to control the growth in this community in a way that was beneficial to everyone in the community. And when it comes to present day Spanish Fort, that has been lost.
Thank you, Lauren. Thank you.
Okay.
You have 1 minute, Mike.
I think we do a very good job of communicating. Now, I'm not a great big Facebook person, okay? I'm not great big on social media, but we are very transparent. We put everything out there. We have city apps. We have Citizens Serve for our citizens to respond, to ask questions, to tell us about a pothole, those kind of things. We are out there. We broadcast every meeting, every council meeting and planning commission meeting live to make sure everybody gets to see it. We post in 6 places in our city the agendas for everything out there. We post on Facebook all of our agendas. So I think we're very good with those kind of things. I'm not sure because there are no newspapers anymore. You don't do those kind of things anymore. We certainly, annexation, that is certainly something we're going to move forward with. It's only right for the citizens that live in the backside of the estates that don't have the opportunity to be in the city at this point. We did this once before, if you remember right. We lost by 8 votes to squaring up our borders, and that's a very expensive endeavor. So we will continue to move that forward.
Thank you. Well, that's the end of the questions. I do want to give the candidates one final, closing remarks. So if you guys want, you can have 1 minute and 30 seconds just for a closing remark. We'll start with Brad.
So I'm extremely excited about the potential of Spanish Fort. If I wasn't, I wouldn't be doing this. People often want to compare us to Daphne or Fairhope. That's not who we are. We're Spanish Fort. We're a different community. We've always been a tight-knit community, like I mentioned earlier, with some of our small businesses that have been here for years. You being here tonight shows that you care in the city of Spanish Fort. 5 years ago, less than 1,200 people showed up to vote in the municipal election. I would love to see that number double. On average, across the country, about 20% of people participate. If we do that, our number will be closer to 2,400 people this go around. I would love to see it be even more than that. This city means a lot to me. I grew up here. We chose to raise our family here. My parents still live here. It's a great place to be. If it wasn't, I wouldn't be doing this. But we need to make everyone's voice count moving forward and be proactive with the city moving forward to make sure 10 years from now, we're not facing some of the same hurdles we are today.
Thank you. Lauren, your closing remarks.
I have lived in this city for almost a decade, and of that time, I have spent 9 years working for the city of Spanish Fort, essentially getting on-the-job training for how a city works and how to get things done within the functions of a city. I am a mother of a 2020 graduate of Spanish Fort High School. I currently have a rising 10th grader who's in the IB program with the Baldwin County Schools. And I feel and believe and want the same things for this city that I have heard from everybody that has walked through the doors of this building for the last 9 years, which is we want a place where our kids can grow and play and run. We want to live in our city without having to worry about is somebody going to get hurt, whether it be by traffic or any other way. People want their cities to run in the background. You want a city that supports your family and the health of your family. And it needs to grow the same way that you want your family to grow. You want a space that is welcoming and that makes you feel joy when you walk out your door. And that is what I want for Spanish Fort. And I have the ability to bring that to life.
Thank you, Lauren. Mike, you got 1:30.
What's the question? No, I'm kidding. Look, it comes down to experience, the capability of running a business. Have you done it before? Have you managed people before? We have proven for the last 13 years that we're capable and have done it in an outstanding way in a fiscally conservative manner to move the city forward every year. We have consistently been adding new parks, new roads, new sidewalks, community centers, libraries, everything. You look at what we have done in the last few terms, it's unbelievable where we've come as a city. We're 32 years old. We have come so far so quick, and we do it the right way without putting ourselves in debt. Very proud of where we are as a city. Safest city in Mobile, Baldwin County to raise a family. Outstanding. Our schools are outstanding, all A-rated schools, and that's a direct reflection of the city council moving forward, pushing the 3 Meals Committee to make our schools what they are. Our infrastructure is outstanding. There's always opportunities to do more. For example, we're going to build a new road at the Eastern Shore Center to help alleviate traffic on 031. Controlled growth. We're not explosive growth. We're doing this in a controlled manner to do this the right way for our city. So I'm very proud of where we are.
All right. I want to thank all the candidates for coming out here tonight. I want to thank all of you for coming out here. It shows your support for your city. On behalf of the Eastern Shore Chamber of Commerce, I encourage everyone to get involved, get informed, and most importantly, get out to vote. Thank you. I will say one more thing. One more thing. We do have a comprehensive municipal election guide on our website. It has these 3 people up here. We've got all the city council members on there. Just read and be informed, please. But again, thank you so much and have a great night.